Good morning. My name is Noah Petherbridge, and I'm going to talk to you about my project, Rivescript. So, quick overview of what I'm going to be talking about. A quick introduction and background of myself. Why I felt the need to reinvent AIML. Chatbot Alpha is one of my early attempts at Rivescript. And then I'm going to talk about Rivescript's features, quick comparison with AIML, and show you what it actually looks like. I am Noah Petherbridge. This is a really great picture of me over here. I'm a software developer. Mostly work with web technologies. Perl is my strongest language. I've dabbled in Java. I actually wrote a Rivescript port in Java as well. HTML, JavaScript kind of guy. I work at DreamHost. It's a web hosting company. I work on their hosting projects there as a software developer. And as a hobby, for like a really long time, I've been into chatbot programming. My inspiration, how I got into bots. Around the year 2000, Smarter Child came out on AOL Instant Messenger. That was the first chatbot I've ever seen. It was pretty popular. All my friends knew about it. You could chat with it over instant message, ask it to get you movie times and look up the weather for you, and a couple little games. And of course, it was able to just chat with you and hold conversations. I discovered Runabot. Actually, one of my online friends at the time found it first and told me about it when we were talking about Smarter Child. It's a free bot hosting service. I found it around 2001. It uses a variant of AIML. They had a web-based interface for adding replies to your bot, or you could export them as AIML, edit them on your computer, and then upload them again. I say it's a variant because it doesn't support a lot of the tags that AIML supports as far as what's listed on alicebot.org. I think it's just AIML 0.9 or something. You could choose Alice or Eliza as the base brain, which means that if someone asks you about a question that you don't have a response for, it would fall back to either Alice or Eliza. And so obviously Alice is able to respond to a lot more things than Eliza. Eliza is just a therapist bot that it answers questions by asking you questions to keep the conversation going. They had free bots for AIM. The MSN bots were commercial though. You had to pay a subscription for them. Anytime Runabot servers were under heavy load, they would just downgrade all the free bots back to Eliza, which obviously made your bots go pretty much retarded. And I was 13 at the time, so I couldn't pay for a subscription for the MSN bots. Because of all of Runabot's problems, I left Runabot and found Alicebot Program D. It's a Java bot that works with AIM and IRC. It has fast response times. With Runabot, it would have to hit the server for every single message, and that would result in 5 or 6 seconds to respond to your message. Program D responds instantly, though, and it supported AIML 1.1. The problem with responding instantly on AIM, though, is that AIM has the rate limits, and so if there's 2 or 3 people chatting with your bot at once, it's responding instantly to each message. It's going to go over its rate limits and not be able to respond. And it had no regard for the warning system. The warning system on AIM, if someone sends you a message, you click warn, and then you could give them a little percentage next to their screen name, and a higher percentage means that the rate limit is hurt even more. So at about 20%, they have to wait about 5 to 6 seconds between messages to not go over the rate limit, whereas without a warning level at all, it's about 3 seconds is good. I wanted a bot for MSN Messenger because I had some friends on MSN, and I wanted them to see what I'm into. So I Googled for MSN bots, and surprisingly, one of the first results was a Perl bot template site from Wired Bots. It was actually my first exposure to Perl. My brother got into Perl a little bit, like a year or 2 prior, just with Tripod, but I never really touched Perl until I found these bots. These bots were very minimal templates. They had no AI engine built in. If you sent them a message, they would just give you a random quote out of a text file. And most importantly, there was no AIML modules for Perl that I could find. There was Alicebot Program V, which was a Perl bot, but it wasn't programmed to be modular. It was a complete solution. So while it had some AIML modules, they were hooked into Program V really closely. You couldn't just pull them out and use them in your own programs. And so I taught myself Perl largely by editing these templates that I found. Started writing my own from scratch after I learned a little bit about how to write them. And I really started to miss AIML, because when I was using Program D, I wrote I started with Alice's brain, and then I was just tweaking all the responses for my bot, and so I had all this code that I was working on, and I couldn't use it in Perl. And that's how we come to why I was reinventing AML. AML it's XML based, and XML parsing in Perl is very difficult. I've tried a handful of different XML modules, like XML parser. XML simple obviously wouldn't work, but XML parser, it would completely blow up the entire XML structure. So when you have a template that has tags in it, it would expand each tag as like a separate node, and you couldn't piece them back together in the correct order. So like, for example, if you ask Alice, what's your name? Or what's my name, rather. Alice will say, your name is getName equals name. And there's no way to say where that tag actually showed up in the message when you're parsing it like this. Didn't have much luck dissecting program V either. And so that's why I started developing my own alternatives to AML. So for the Perl AI engine that I was making, it had to be easy for Perl to parse. So I was trying to avoid XML at all costs. Had to be at least as easy to edit by hand as AML is. I'll say that AML is easy if you know XML in general. It's probably not very easy if you don't know XML, but I was editing all the files by hand in the years prior, so it was easy enough for me. Had to support most of the features of AML. I mentioned here Runabot's topic behavior. With Runabot, topics would segregate your entire reply set so that if you put a user into a topic, they were only able to match patterns that existed in that topic. I remember testing this with Program D, and it didn't really work the way I expected, so that's why I called it Runabot's topic behavior. And ideally, my language should be easy to implement in other programming languages as well. And so Chatbot Alpha is my first attempt at this. The basic syntax of it was inspired by BuddyScript, which is the scripting language that SmarterChild and the other active Buddy bots used, which was basically a plus sign for what the human says and then a minus sign for what the bot says. And so that's the really basic syntax there. It was inspired by BuddyScript, but it's not like BuddyScript. BuddyScript syntax is a lot more complicated when you get into more complicated responses than just simple input-output. It's a line-by-line parsed language where the first character is a command that says what the rest of the line is. So you have pluses for the triggers, minuses are responses. The @ symbol is how you redirect one response to another. It's kind of like the SR tag in AML. And then I have star for conditionals. It's easy to write and parse, and its feature set is very close to AML's. But we can do better than that. Perl is a powerful language and great at processing text with regular expressions. Chatbot Alpha didn't really support any complicated triggers. It was basically the same features as AML, just plain text and stars for wildcards. So I settled for this AML snippet here. My name is star, when you can have my name or alias is star. So that way you can match two different kinds of patterns with one trigger. So you can get more replies in less space without tons of SRAI tags everywhere like you have with AML code. So introducing Rivescript. Rivescript is my second attempt after Chatbot Alpha. It fixes some of the limitations, such as that regular expression for triggers. It matches and surpasses the feature set of AML 1.1. And the regex triggers means less need for redirecting. Brief history behind the name Rivescript. My first bot that I had at Runabot was named Chaos. When I found the WiredBots Perl templates, I moved Chaos over there off of Runabot, created a website, Chaos AI Technology, which I'd later just renamed to AI Chaos. Rive is a verb to render, tear apart, and with a little stretch of the imagination, like chaos and rive, kind of a little bit similar. So, and I just like the word, so that's why we got Rivescript. All right, some of its features. Now, its triggers are actually simplified regular expressions. They don't have all the complicated like / escape characters and other features that full regexes have. Random responses are a first-class feature, so you don't need to have like a special random tag like you do with AIML. You can have weighted random responses. So if you want one response to come out more often than the other ones, you can easily do that. Its conditionals can check equal, not equal, less than or equal, and so on. Whereas AML could only compare equality, like equal to. has runabout style topics, support for inline Perl code, and self-contained configuration. I'm going to talk about that last point first. With program D and program V, the configuration was XML files that are separate from your replies. And this is examples of configuration. You have like the bot's variables as a name, age, whatever else you want. You have substitutions, so like what's equals what is. Person substitutions will switch first and second person pronouns, so that, for example, you could tell the bot, say I am cool, and the bot will say you are cool. It replaces I with you when it bounces it back at you. Rivescript can do everything that AIML can do. Here's snippets of AIML code and the Rivescript equivalent. Let's see. Yeah. So first you have a think tag, which suppresses the output in AIML to set a variable. In Rivescript, it's simply set name equals, and then the text there. That's how you get variables, how you get bot variables. The star tag, of course, gets the values matched in the wildcards. Uppercase, lowercase, that is the bot's previous response. You can just have reply 1 tag, or you can have replies 1 through 9, so that if the user asks, why did you say that, the bot can say, I said my last reply because you said your last message. And it can go on and on like that. Not going to cover the similarities. I'm going to instead show you what Rivescript looks like and show you which areas it actually does really well in. So here's your atomic triggers. These are the simplest examples. You have just a plus for what the human says, a minus for how the bot responds. It's a simple input and output reply system. You have the wildcards, just like an AML, but with more features. The star wildcard matches anything, but you can also use a number sign to match only digits, and you can use an underscore to match only letters. And so you can have, like over here, we have I am number years old. You could also have I am underscore years old, and then the bot could tell you, can you say that again, but with the number this time? And you see on the syntax examples here, there's a caret on some of these. The caret command continues a previous line. So if one line of code isn't enough, or you want to just space it out so it's easier to read, you can use a caret sign. And that \s character there just inserts a space, because when the caret joins 2 lines, it doesn't imply space between them. So you need to put a space in explicitly. All right. Triggers can have arrays. So here you can see, like, you set an array of colors, red, blue, green, yellow. And you can use those arrays in your triggers as placeholders for any one of those words. So you can have, like, what color is my @color star? So you could ask the bot, like, what color is my blue shirt? And the bot will say, your shirt is blue, silly. Or what color was Napoleon's white horse? So it'd say, Napoleon's horse was white. Response examples. Random responses, you just have multiple minus lines. And in this syntax, they're chosen with equal weight. Or you can have weighted random responses. You put a little weight tag next to some of the responses, and you can change the priority or probability that those responses will be chosen. So in this example, hello human will be given significantly more often than the alternatives. You can actually have priorities for triggers too. One of my favorite triggers from Alice is the star or something, where Alice will say or something, and then it'll continue to answer your question. The way that Rivescript sorts the triggers, it sorts them in the order that they'll match best. So like it sorts atomic triggers first by the number of words, and then it will sort triggers with wildcards by the number of words, and so on. So with star or something, it's got a wildcard, and it's only got 2 words besides the star, so that would actually be sorted really low on this internal sort list. But by adding a weight tag, you can make that trigger a priority so that it'll be checked first. The weights are arbitrary, and they're just compared to each other. So everything with a weight equals 50 will be sorted among themselves, and it'll be like higher than anything with a lower priority. The default weight is 1. So if you don't set a weight, those are at the very bottom of the stack.
Identification.